Welcome to my screencast for Project Hades, the Network Knot. I'm going to be covering a bunch of the things I've set up, and hopefully they're all still working at the moment, and I will explain them a little bit as best I can. So to start, I'm going to go over to the three VMs I've got here, one Windows, one Mac, and one Fedora, and I'm going to go to the settings of the Windows. You can see I have a bridged NIC right here that is connecting to the internet. I've also got the custom VMnet 12, which is the custom VMnet NIC that I created. I'll show the Mac. It is also on VMnet 12, host only, and the Fedora also set to custom VMnet 12, host only. If I go up here to virtual network preferences, I will show VMnet 12 has DHCP distribution off by default. It's just host only, nothing else going on there. And as we can see, that is bridged the Windows to the internet. The Mac is currently connected to the internet. I'll just boot up Safari, go to Google, um, and look up the ITAS website as an example. It's working all perfect there. And the Fedora, you can see in the top left, wired connection, connect to the internet. To prove that, I'll just go over to Firefox here for a sec and look up ITAS again. There we go. How I did that on Windows, I set it up as the bridged network is set up as a proxy, allowing all the other networks to connect through the computer's internet connection, and also supply them with a unique set of IPs, which I did through the registry editor by changing scope address to 10.20.30.1 and scope address backup to 10.20.31. I also added standalone DHCP address as 10.20.30.1. There was another change that I made in the registry that was all the way back. It basically re-enabled ICS on default. I'll just do a small cut here and go to that policy. There we are. It's in the HT Local Machine software, Microsoft Windows current version shared access. It is enable reboot persist connection as a DWORD with a value of 1. This re-enables ICS if the VM is restarted. This is an issue a few people ran into and luckily solved. I'll just show services and go down to internet and file sharing. ICS is running automatically, and I will open up the command and type ipconfig. You can see 10.20.31 on the custom NIC. I'll go over to the Mac, open up the terminal, and run ifconfig. There we go. Custom IP 10.20.30.25. And on Fedora, I will go back, show this. IPA 10.20.30.125. That's me showing all of the connected VMs have internet and are working properly. They have their custom IPs, and ICS is functioning. Next, I'm going to be showing the shared folders that I created on each of the VMs. So one on Windows shared to both the others, and for each respective VM, I have two shares. So I'll go to Windows, and I'll just show this is a Windows share file I made in the documents. It has this test file in it that is going to say this is a test file on my Windows 10 VM. I'm now going to go over to Fedora and list my mounted Windows share. This is the directory I created to mount my WinShare file from Windows. So now if I go and just nano into that. The test file you see there is the test file on my Windows machine. I'll now go over to Mac and use the Windows K, and I will set this to be the WinShare with the correct 10.20.31 IP. I'll input the correct information here. There you go. There's the same test file that is currently on the Windows machine. I will now show the Mac shared folder, which I created. It has this folder inside, this folder on my Mac OS, just as an example. I'll go over to Windows and go to the Mac shared file, which I accessed through the network. And you can see I connected to it through the network, through Aiden's Mac, which I shared, and the Mac share folder on the desktop of the Mac. And inside is the folder labeled, this is a folder on my Mac OS. On Fedora, I will list the mount for my Mac OS share, which is the directory I made to mount the Mac shared folder. And there you can see this is a folder in my Mac OS is displayed there on Linux. Now on Linux, I will list, you can see here there is a linshare. Inside is a test file. Inside that test file this is a test file on my Linux VM. I'll now go over to Windows and go to the linshare file, which I can connect to by inputting the direct IP and the folder from my Linux machine. In that is the test file. This is a test file on my Linux VM. Now if I go back to Mac, close that, hit the Windows K command again, and now I just changed this information to the linshare, and there you go. The test file there. I didn't have to input my password because I had saved that earlier. This is a test file on my Linux VM. That displays all three of my VMs having their shared folders that are accessible from all other VMs, with the files being shared properly across all of them. I'll now display how to share the screens and connect remotely through TeamViewer, which is the remote desktop software I decided to use. I did attempt to use alternatives first, which were RustDesk and AnyDesk. I could get Windows to Linux working on both, but I could not get Linux to Mac or Mac to Windows to work. So this was the option I found that worked for all three. It was the most simple and straightforward to set up and made my life a whole lot easier. So I'll just bring it up on all three of my VMs, display each of them working properly. So we'll start with my Fedora. So this is my ID. I'm going to copy that and go over to Windows. I'm now going to input the ID here and hit connect. It's now going to prompt me for the password, which I will grab here and copy as well, and paste that in there, log on. I'll just click share there on the Linux, then go back over to the Windows, and you can see the desktop of Linux is displayed remotely from my Windows. Just to show a little activity on it, I'll just go over to this other tab here, and you can see on Windows it is shown and accessible here. Yeah, I'll now just close that out on Windows and make sure that it can be connected on the Mac. So I will copy the ID from the Linux again, go to Mac, partner ID, I will paste that in there, click connect, it'll ask for the password again, which is now changed over here. I will paste that in there, log in, and then make sure to click share on there. And there you go. You can see once again on the Mac you have the Linux VM displayed. Once again, I'll just show a different screen so you know it's the correct one. Updating live. That's the Linux working. So now we'll go the other way. We'll go Mac being connected through Windows. That's the password from before. Just make sure I can copy. I'll hit connect on the Windows. I will grab this password from the Mac. I'll click login and just make sure. You can now see the Mac VM here on remote desktoped in from Windows. You can see that is the same screen. You can see the shared folder there. I'll now close out of that on Windows and do the same thing from Linux. So I will start with the ID, go over to Fedora Linux, go to my TeamViewer, and paste in that. And then I will grab the new password, paste that in there. It is connecting after just a moment. There you go. You can see it displaying Mac on Linux as well. And now I will close out of that. And now I will connect to the Windows from the Linux. I'll grab the Windows password, log on. You can now see, though it is a black screen for the background, I am unsure why it's not showing the background. You can see all of the um, desktop icons right there. And if I go back to Windows, you can see they have been successfully moved. I'm going to just move them all back. And I'll close out TeamViewer on the Linux. I'll just grab the ID again from Windows and go over to Mac. I'll enter the Windows ID, hit connect, and I will grab the new Windows password. There you go. You can see it working again on the Mac. Changes going live. And yeah, that is how TeamViewer remote desktops in from all VMs to each other, vice versa. It works on all of them either way, both ways. Um, that concludes that part of the screencast. Next, I will move on to showing the CUPS PDF printer. So, to show my CUPS PDF printer here, it is open on localhost 631, which is the port that the other two VMs are set to listen to. I'll just show active jobs at the moment. These were some that I were testing earlier before fixing some problems, but it is now successfully working. So I'll just show desktop folder on the Fedora Linux is empty, and I'm going to go over to the Mac, go to the internet, and just get a test picture of a dog. So I'm going to print this. The printer is set to the CUPS PDF Fedora printer. When I click print, processing page, if I go over to Fedora, you can see printing complete. And there's the PDF of the dog that I printed from Mac OS. I'll just show completed jobs. You can see completed at this time just now, 5:59. I will now switch over to Windows and do the same thing, but with a picture of a cat. As you can see, Cups PDF printer is selected. I'm going to just hit print and go back to Fedora. As you can see, the picture of the cat PDF is right here in the output folder, and you can see there it is right there, completed as well at this time. If I refresh that, there it is, completed at this time. Setting up cups was definitely a bit of a pain in the ass. It definitely gave me the most problems, but I am definitely confident now in fixing most, if not all, errors that occur when setting up a cups PDF printer. But I do hope I don't have to use it often again. That concludes this part of the screencast. Next, I'll be showing the bash script. To show the bash script, I am going to display the contents of my shared Windows file and the contents of my Mac shared file. As you can see, the test file from earlier and the folder from earlier are still in both respective folders. I'm now going to run my bash backup script. Once that's completed, I will run the same commands, listing the Windows share and the Mac OS share. And as you can see, 3 test files successfully backed up to said directories. I will just quickly nano my bash backup. It's a very simple backup. It's just backing up all of the files in the test files directory I made into the shared folders so that if something does happen to this Linux VM, those files are safe. It is set to automatically back up with cron tab E. This will run on the 0 minute of every day, every week, every month, etc., etc. With sudo permissions, it will run and execute the bash backup script. That ensures that even if changes are made to the test files, which are located in just home test files, they will be updated and backed up accordingly every hour. That concludes this section of the screencast. Next, I will go on to displaying the network diagram. This is just a quick once-over of my network diagram I created. As you can see, the VMnet 10 Windows bridged connection with the IP there and the MAC address, the Windows 10 custom NIC IP, which is 10.20.31, and its MAC address connected to the other 2 VMs with their IPs respectively and MAC addresses. The Cups PDF printer with its IP, which is the same as the Linux IP because it is a virtual printer just hosted on the Linux. It does not get its own IP like a physical printer would, and the Windows is connected to the internet. That's my screencast of the network diagram. And that basically concludes my screencast. In this assignment, I set up 3 VMs, set the Windows to be a proxy server to display and provide internet access to both other VMs, assign custom IPs to those VMs. I assigned shared folders to each of the VMs and made sure they were connected and worked. I made it so you can remote desktop into and out of all 3 VMs respectively. And I created a Cups PDF virtual printer on the Linux, which could print from and display the outputted PDFs from Windows and Mac I created a backup script, very basic as it was, to back up some test files every hour on the hour. Um, this was a really fun assignment, I will admit, and I really did dread it going into it because I did not know what I was getting into, and I felt like I knew nothing. But after having worked on it for so many hours, both troubleshooting stuff alone and with quite a few of my classmates, we spent a good a good amount of hours over the week and weekend working collaboratively to fix a few major issues that we were running into. It definitely taught me both solo problem solving skills and how to collaboratively solve issues as a team, as a group, which I haven't really had that kind of experience in this way before in such a technical level. And I really appreciate the chance that this assignment gave me to experience that. It was very fun. That concludes my Network Not screencast. I appreciate you taking the time to judge this and mark. I had a whole lot of fun this class, and I look forward to the rest of ITATS. Thanks, Brandon.